Kevin Rudd will tomorrow outline his new cabinet, with 3 women expected to be selected in key portfolio areas. It's another important step for the new Prime Minister, whose ascension to power has been credited for Labor's bounce in the latest Galaxy poll. Meanwhile, the opposition leader has reaffirmed his pledge to repeal the carbon tax, regardless of any change in the government's climate strategy.
It's been a big week for the second-time First family.
It looks slightly discombobulated, don't I?
Kevin Rudd's wife and closest supporter, Therese Rain, says her husband is ready to take on Tony Abbott.
Kevin strikes me as very calm, very collected, very rested, very focused, and very focused on offering choice to the Australian people.
As the opposition leader rallied supporters at a new campaign office in Melbourne, the latest opinion poll shows he's now got a competition on his hands.
And a Labor government is now possible as a result of what occurred this week.
Under Kevin Rudd, Labor has bounced back to a two-party preferred vote of 49%, just behind the coalition on 51%, and he's far more popular in the preferred Prime Minister stakes. Labor MPs happy to talk about polls for the first time in a long time.
I'm certainly very encouraged by the change in the polls, and I think people want to get on with things.
But there's been some acknowledgement of mistakes of the past, the politics of division on gender and class under Julia Gillard.
I'm not here to say that everything was got right, and I'm sure that she'd say that as well.
The new leadership team has also moved to distance themselves from the Greens, a relationship Anthony Albanese says was perceived as too close.
I'm opposed to the extremism and sloganism of the Greens.
Okay, now just
and we will take it on.
Shifting the carbon tax to an ETS is likely to raise the ire of the Greens. It's been considered by the new Prime Minister, but the outgoing Climate Change Minister Greg Combet warns any changes would be complex and cost the budget dearly.
It's not an easy thing to do because setting up an emissions trading scheme is quite a complex thing, and that is one of the reasons why we set in place a fixed price period for 3 years.
Whatever the decision, Tony Abbott will scrap it.
Whether it's a fixed tax or a floating tax, this is a bad tax. It must go, and it will go under the coalition.
The new ministry has been decided and will be unveiled by Kevin Rudd tomorrow morning. Jacinta Collins, Catherine King and Julie Collins have all been promoted and will now sit around the cabinet table. But just who will take charge of climate change, education and communications? That will be Kevin Rudd's first big test of unity. It'll be this team who make the big policy decisions in the last remaining weeks of this term of government. Kevin Rudd is keen to reassure his party he's a changed man.
There were shortcuts in terms of processes. Kevin Rudd has learnt from that. There will be no shortcuts under this government.
And no word yet on when the election might be.